Our sixth fight of the night here on the boxing side is going to feature Nixon Fanudette, and he's coming out of a family affair boxing, long storied boxing gym here in Colorado, and he's going to take on Miguel Garcia. And Miguel Garcia, you know, again, one of these guys that is in your face non-stop. These guys are at 115-pound amateurs, and we're going to see just kind of what these two bring to the table. I'm always impressed with the lighter guys, with the kind of output that we see.
115-pound boxing bout. Let's meet the fighters. First, fighting out of the Dynamic Mortgage Concepts red corner. Please make welcome Nixon And now, fighting out of the blue corner, shooting center blue corner. Please make welcome Miguel Garcia. This elimination 115-pound boxing bout is scheduled for 3 2-minute rounds. Referee is Tim Miller.
Okay, Sam. Here we go. Oh, big left hand from Fanudette lands hard right away on Miguel Garcia. And Miguel Garcia says, no, sir. Not getting me out. Look at this action. Sam, are you kidding me?
Non-stop. Look at this pace going.
This is Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Unbelievable. I just said before this fight started, the output and a big right hand. Fanudette landed a big right hand. I got to tell you, I think he hurt Garcia with that shot.
Yeah, I agree. He looks hurt, but man, the volume is so high. When these guys go down to 115 pounds, you know the pace is crazy, and this pace is crazy even for this weight class.
This is nuts. I'm kind of waiting for both of these guys to settle down a little bit and get some technique going right now, but they are just swinging for the fences on each other.
Yeah, we're starting to see that settle in there now.
Yeah.
This is also in young fighters to see how they handle. This is where a lot of them get this adrenaline dump, where they just got so hyped up, they got in there, and then you kind of get a drop.
Good body attack right now from Miguel Garcia. I like the way he's keeping his hands up. And I think for Fanudette, one of the things I'm really liking is he's able to really establish the range and utilize that jab to set up that big left.
Yeah, and you see Miguel, he's using the ring to cut off his opponent. He's not really cutting him off, but he's pushing him back into the corners. He's got him into the corner a couple of times. See him here walking down, and he's going to push him over in that corner.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, he's not doing as great with footwork. He's still young, but he's getting in that corner where his opponent's movement's limited.
I agree. What a learning experience for both of these two, as these guys just keep swinging. This is incredible action. Look at the shots landing. What a first round.
Yeah, I don't know how many punches we're throwing in there, but there was a lot. It'll be interesting to see the adjustments they make if they calm down a little bit and go to a little more of a strategic approach in the second round.
You know, and I think that that's kind of where the coaching right now is going to have to come into play, because I think that the coaches are going to have to kind of bring their fighter down and get them to kind of relax a little bit and start utilizing the technique and utilize the things that they learned in that training camp.
Yeah, and at this amateur level, you see it's about how much information you can give their fighter. If you overload, you've seen 15 mistakes or 15 things that your fighter does better in the gym, you can't give him all of them. You have to
100%.
pick one or two things and make sure he understands and that he's going to make those adjustments.
If you're in the corner of Fanudette, what type of advice are you giving him going into the second round?
I would tell him to use his length. He looks like he's got a little more reach on him, and I'd like to see him be a little more patient, you know, use that jab to set up more power.
Agreed 100%. And how about if you're in the corner of Garcia?
You know, I'd almost say the same thing as Garcia. He's got to come in, but, you know, right now he could step off at an angle and be out of the way, get his head off of that center line that he's not getting. The chances of him getting hit aren't as high.
Agreed, 100% agreed.
Then they're just trading. I like how Miguel's going to the body, though. You see him dropping down to that body every now and again, changing up to them uppercuts.
Fanudette seems to be landing the harder shots, but I think that Garcia is almost flustering Fanudette a little bit with the volume.
Yeah, and I think Fanudette, you're seeing that he can't really box going backwards very well. He steps in with all of his shots, even though his opponent is coming in towards him. If he could punch backing up, that would be a really good strategy for him.
And not many people can, right?
It's a skill. We're seeing it more and more as the sports are growing.
Yeah.
You're really seeing these guys being able to punch backing up. That was something Dwayne Ludwig had. One of the first things he showed me is like, hey, man, it's great that you can punch forward. Make sure you can punch going backwards.
Absolutely right. This action, though, has been non-stop. I cannot believe that they have not stopped throwing a punch since the first bell. I like the way Garcia is pushing Fanudette against the ropes, literally laying on him a little bit, kind of wearing him down. But I'll tell you, that left hand is corking Garcia on the regular.
This is the first lull in action that we see here. Oh, followed up with a good combinations here by both fighters.
And how about the toughness of both of these guys? They're both landing hard shots on each other.
Yeah, but you see that both of them just kind of have offense. Don't see a lot of defense out of either fighter, which is something that I hope that they look at this fight and build on from.
You know, I think you hit it on the head earlier, is that they're young. They're young fighters, and they are trying to do everything that they can, almost pack everything that they learned in a short time period and show off to what they can do. But you hit it right on the head because, you know, this is kind of right now, this third and final round is really where you have to use your technique. Both of those guys are a little bit tired right now. This is where technique shines through. This is where the ability to find those openings exists late in the fight, third round, as they're tired.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting. I think we see a little bit of nerves here from each fighter where they got a little more nerves and they're like on this big stage just thinking about one thing, and that's offense. Just thinking, man, I'm just going to try to hit this guy in the head as hard as I can.
Very close fight. Hard to score. Agree?
Yeah, I'd agree. It's very hard to score. Yeah.
It's pandemonium in there.
Yeah, it's tricky.
It's fitting. It's a firefight on AVM 9, right? I mean, that's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Nice. Miguel looks like I see him take some deep breaths in his corner.
Yeah.
I think more so those breaths were calming more than tired.
Me too. I saw the same thing. And I like the way he's mixing going to the body on Fanudette. Fanudette seems to be only headhunting right now, and I think that's getting him in a little bit of trouble right now.
Boy, and Fanudette's really keeping his hands down low.
Yes, he is. And that's because of the body attack. The pressure of Garcia is just something else. Hard left hand, or hard right hand lance for Garcia. And again, look at this action. This is nuts.
Yeah, and you see that their skills are there. You see that Nixon pulls off a little bit, but it takes him a little second to recognize that he's up against the ropes and to make that adjustment to get off the ropes. But still making good adjustments. Good matchup skill-wise for both fighters.
As we've seen all night, great action right now. Very, very high output from these 115-pound amateurs. Exactly what you expect from the little guys. But entertaining as hell nonetheless.
Absolutely. You see Miguel going back to pushing him in the corner.
Yeah. And he's had some good success doing that. Referee Tim Mills, I think it was a headbutt, right?
Yeah, he got a warning earlier, ducking in and trying to get that pushback. Tim Mills told him, watch your head, and I think that's what happened in there. It's hard to avoid that sometimes when you're just feeling aggressive. You want to get him into that corner and land them shots. Again, kind of controlling those emotions.
And let's also talk about the fact that leaning forward prevents you from being knocked off balance. And what we're seeing Miguel Garcia using that leaning forward, heavy pressure style, you know, very, very Mexican boxing-esque. That's what they do, and we're seeing him literally utilizing that so that he can't get knocked off balance, very much like Vanderlei Silva used to do.
Yeah, and you see him that he doesn't play with the range. He just comes in. He knows that he's the shorter fighter. He knows he has a disadvantage in the reach, and he immediately gets in that punch range.
Yeah, he's got to get inside to be effective. And he's and Fanudette right now, just like you said, is keeping those hands very, very low. Scary low, especially with the kind of output that we're seeing from Miguel Garcia, but these two just have
putting it all out
not
there.
stopped throwing shots. Unbelievable fight. What a fight. What
Outstanding.
a fight.
Both fighters just gave it everything they had.
Unbelievable action.
Right to the bell.
115 pounders.
I think there was about 115 strikes from each fighter in
Per
each
round.
round.
Yeah, exactly. That was nuts. Entertaining nonetheless.
Yeah, very entertaining, and I like to see that they're well matched. Like to see Tim Mills doing a great job keeping them safe with the headbutts, getting in there right at the bell. You see these referees, we've seen this all night, they're putting themselves in the right position to stop the fight as soon as the bell rings or the round. And that's always great to see fighters being protected.
Yeah.
And I can't speak about how good the matchups are. I mean, this is a perfect matchup for both fighters to test their skills that they have, and it's the right opportunity to build on what they have.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
think both of these guys can take away a lot from what they just saw, even though the action was crazy, of course.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, when they come back and they take a look at the tapes and they see the kind of, you know, wildness, I think that they can both learn about kind of taking a breath, taking a step backwards, giving some angles that are so important in boxing especially, and then being able to really focus on the right shot at the right time.
And the setups. We didn't see very
That's
much
right.
setups in this fight. We seen them just kind of going for it. And I'd like to see them be able to set things up a little better.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Tough fight to score. How do you have it unofficially?
Oh, you put me on the spot. You know,
Of course.
a really hard score, hard fight to score. I'm kind of going to favor Miguel just because I felt like, man, he was getting a lot of them shots in, especially in the second and third round. We seen Nixon having his hands down, and every time Miguel was coming over the top with loopy punches, he was landing on the chin. So I think he landed a little more. It's hard to tell without counting and commentating. You're talking about it, not actually looking 100% at it as a judge point, but I think I favor Miguel.
I have to agree. I actually think that what I saw out of Miguel was more pressure, more shots landing, and I also saw Fanudette dropping those hands and giving that impression like he may have been a little tired. So I agree with you. I think, you know, unofficially, again, I always stress that, I have it 2-1 Miguel Garcia. It'll be interesting to see how the judges see it.
Yeah, you see both fighters in there. You see Miguel, he seems a little more fired up. I believe Miguel believes he won it. It's hard to tell what Nixon's thinking right now. He's pretty calm in there. I think you can kind of see that he's evaluating,
Yes.
think he has more to offer.
Yes.
And that's a sign of nerves, you know. I think that he's realizing, man, I got a little nervous. I got kind of sucked into that guy's pressure.
That's exactly
Could have done
right.
a little better with the skill sets that I have. And
And
that's
that-
all part of the process.
And that's kind of why I said, you know, I think that learning angles, and we're going to go ahead and throw it back up to Sean Patrick for the official announcement, but let's see what the judges said.
After 3 rounds in the boxing ring, the judges' scorecards. Judge Thrasher scores about 30-27 for Newton. Judge Short scores about 29-28 Garcia. And Judge Glenn scores about 30-27. Declaring winner by split decision, Miguel Garcia.
Yeah, and I wasn't surprised to see that as a split decision. I mean, it was
Right,
close.
right.
That second round, really hard to tell without counting punches. You didn't see too many, either one of them really get rocked by any shots or take a harder shot. But so I wasn't surprised to see it as a split, but definitely think that Miguel, the right call that Miguel, you know, had the more effective shots.